What's the good word? It's your boy DKB here. So we have our young rookie center, the future of offensive line, whether that be this season or in the season following. But Joe Tippmann, he's already kind of gotten a cosign from Aaron Rodgers early on in OTAs, and this bodes well for him. We know that Aaron Rodgers has supreme respect for his offensive line, but he also demands a lot of perfection from his weapons, from his running backs, from his offensive line in and of itself, and ultimately himself. And so that center position being one of the most tangible relationships, quite literally, between the quarterback and any of the other players that he's going to be working with, having direct snaps from them, as well as having to deal with the communication between the other offensive linemen, and then pass protection calls, different things of that nature. It's going to be a premium from Aaron Rodgers to know that he has a connection with his center, and that they can go out there and get the job done and not have him on his back all game. So Aaron Rodgers had this to say about him. You can kind of feel it when he's in there, the calmness, the coolness that he has. It's kind of an effect that you can see spread throughout the whole offense. And I thought that was kind of cool, and I think it spoke wonders to what Joe Tippmann is already as a center. Now, there's a reason why he went number one in this 2023 NFL draft over a guy like John Michael Schmitz, who technically is a much better center than a guy like Joe Tippmann. But Joe Tippmann's upside, it hasn't been maxed out like John Michael's has. So while we don't know what his floor necessarily will look like, we still expect it to be pretty good based on what he did with Wisconsin. And really the only concern that a lot of people can necessarily have about him is that he's very tall to be a center, 6'6". You don't see many of those guys walking around, but we did get, our offensive line coach, Keith Carter, is at least familiar with working with some guys that have size at the center position when he worked with Max Unger in Seattle. So we have some things working for us, but I wanted to kind of catch up. Well, speak about the Aaron Rodgers cosign, which we did, but also I wanted to play a little bit of catch up with what's been happening over the course of OTAs with Joe Tippmann, because we haven't really had a whole lot of solid news, but I was able to kind of scrape and piece some things together. I know we talked slightly about the fact that Joe Tippmann has actually been getting quite a bit of work at the guard position as well, so it'll be interesting to see if anybody touches on that when we get the next press conferences out. But nonetheless, we have to keep in mind, coming from his final season at Wisconsin, Joe Tippmann only allowed 1 sack and 5 pressures, over 338 pass block snaps. Very impressive, especially considering in 2020. And I want to say, I don't know the pass block snaps off the top of my head, but I know he had something just shy of 800 snaps, and he didn't allow a single sack. So he's a guy that's made a living keeping his quarterback clean and not allowing that interior pressure, which is so critical for a lot of quarterbacks. You'd rather outrun or be able to step up somebody coming around you other than seeing somebody come, bulldozing straight towards you. He got the top run blocking grade on his offensive line his final season as well. And it's a stat that I not necessarily a stat, but it's a piece of recognition that I love about this particular guy, and I'll bring it up every chance I get. Going back to his high school days, he was an MVP for his league. Now, I know it's high school and all of that, but you never hear about an offensive line generally at any level being an MVP in anything, right? So I thought that was well worth being mentioned. And if I remember correctly, I may be getting my centers jumbled, but I believe he actually played as a tight end originally as well, coming up through the ranks. But to add all of that to the list, one of the best things about Joe Tippmann here, and definitely what set him apart again from a guy like John Michael Schmitz, is the elite athleticism that he's bringing. I mean, he made Bruce Feldman's freaks list by being able to go out there and squat 635 pounds, bench 455 pounds. He had a 4.31 pro agility time, and then he has a 1.56 10-yard split. So the man can move. He can get to where he needs to get to in a hurry. And, we spoke about it a little bit. A lot of people are concerned about the height. But Keith Carter actually kind of addressed that as well, and what made this coaching staff still feel comfortable maybe going out on the ring, the edge here a little bit, and still drafting Tippman when he said, I think what makes him so special is he bends so well and he moves so well. I wouldn't say it's as big of a hindrance as maybe it could be. And really that could be maybe the saving grace for him, right? Every center, every offensive lineman, even on the defensive lineman side, right? Everybody wants to have that leverage, right? So him naturally being taller, your pad level is going to be raised, different things like that. Keith Carter spoke on that as well, and just kind of saying he'll need to essentially over-address and try to overcorrect that to a certain degree by just harping on winning that leverage concern or leverage battle anyway. So again, I don't think it's going to be much of an issue. It didn't tend to be a problem in Wisconsin. We're not talking a lower tier conference here. We're not talking about him going up against, unqualified defensive tackles that he wouldn't see on a regular basis in the NFL. And it's not like it's not like he's playing, I guess Clemson or Alabama or anything like that every week. But when his card was pulled and he was asked to go and get things done, he got them done, right? I will take the center that has elite athleticism and had at least proven in the college ranks that he can more than hold his own, right? There's a lot of power behind what he does. There's a lot of agility and a lot of bend, as it's been called out with what he does. So I think even more so impressive is the fact that he's doing all this while not even being close to technically proficient, right? I would probably say he's adequate in a bunch of different areas. He's above average for sure in a couple of different areas, but that's more so when he's able to go out there and be on the move. And so, getting to work with Keith Carter, I think it's going to do wonders. Now, going back into OTAs, again, he's kind of been getting a lot of work at guard, but something that I thought was interesting is we now know that there's going to kind of be a three-way competition for center. We thought it was going to be a two-way battle, but it seems like Joe Tippmann, Connor McGovern, and Wes Schweitzer are all going to be battling each other, and Wes Schweitzer is actually a dark horse to legitimately go out there and potentially win this with his work, most recently being able to play a lot of center. Although he's a natural guard, I don't think realistically he has a chance. Connor McGovern has a strong, consistent history with the Jets for the most part. That one aloof season is definitely in there, but for the most part, he's been our most consistent offensive lineman, which is worth saying something. And then with Joe Tippmann, as we addressed, he's the youthful guy out here who has all of the traits and all of the capabilities to be able to go out here and dominate. We just need to work on consistency. That's really the name of the game when it comes to an offensive line, right? You're not looking for pop plays. You want to know what you're getting, play in, play out. But OTAs, for what it's worth, there's not a ton of work a rookie offensive lineman can do in terms of, padding and different things like that. But for how they set things up, Robert Saleh said to go in slow motion and just work on your targeting, work on your technique, work on all of that stuff. I think that will do him a lot of justice. And I did see some information and some stuff that got called out by Joe Tippmann himself, actually, that mentioned Connor McGovern and Laken Tomlinson have kind of been in his ear consistently since he's been on the field working out with the team, and they are trying to accelerate that development as much as possible. And kudos to Connor McGovern, by the way, considering this guy is going to take your job. It may not be this year, but you definitely know what's coming, and whether you're ready to retire, you'll end up moving on. Definitely a class act for a guy that's not naturally a Jets fan. I know he's been with us for a couple years, but starting off with the Broncos, he definitely didn't need to do that. So I think that also is a big up to Robert Saleh and the culture he's been developing here, that there's no selfishness. We all want to see this team go out here and excel. So I'm hoping Joe Tippmann wins this battle, and we can see him starting for us week 1. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are on this 3-way battle, and I don't know. I don't think we'll see any recognition for a guy like Joe Tippmann in year one. It's kind of hard to really. It's really hard to kind of navigate the waters if you're not a film junkie about who's really excelling as an offensive lineman or not. Everything that we see visually is really just that. It's the eyeball testing and, of course, all the stats and statistics and different things like that we see. But yeah, I don't know. If Aaron Rodgers is already seeming like he's comfortable with Joe Tippmann early on, I think that's a great sign for us. But yeah, let me know what your guys' thoughts are, and I'll catch you again. Peace.